show was set where?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Bill Cosby is from Philadelphia. You probably also know that Bill Cosby has a doctorate in education. He was very concerned in the 1970s that there were no television shows that depicted children living in cities, because the urban population, following waves and waves of migration, was huge. So why weren't we seeing shows that depicted children living in the city? Well, for a long time, sociologists believed the city was an unnatural and an unhealthy place for children. And so the shows that were created were Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, right? Suburbia, you come home, you take off your jacket, you put on your sweater, and then Eddie Murphy, Clam Bennett, right, lampooned that on Saturday Night Live, because so many black children didn't have that reality. It was a completely different reality. Sesame Street was an incredible show because it also was set in the city, right? Sesame Street, for me, was remarkable because I grew up outside of Toronto in a part of Ontario that was semi-rural. Okay, so it wasn't completely cow pastures, but it wasn't yet fully developed into subdivisions. So you would have a house, and then you would have an open lot. And then you would have another house. Everybody had a huge backyard. There were no sidewalks. We played in the ditch and sailed things down the ditch. You had to ride your bike down the street to get to your friend and then call for them. So to see something like a brownstone was incredible to me. That houses could be attached. A stoop. I had never seen a stoop before. That it was a social gathering place, that you could hang out and play. Had no idea. So all of this was my introduction through television shows. And some of you will remember who that gentleman in the center with glasses is, right? Mr. Hooper was a part of my childhood Sesame Street experience, and he isn't for a lot of kids today, although they still call the store Hooper's store, right? I think. Okay, it's all right to laugh. So, when I was little, I was raised by two public school teachers. Both of my parents taught in the Toronto public school system. My mother was actually my kindergarten teacher. But a lot of people think incorrectly that because my parents were teachers, I must have grown up with a lot of books in the house, and I didn't. And this, unfortunately, continues to be the reality for a lot of children of color, particularly those in the working class. And those of you who were at A for Nancy this past weekend will remember the statistics, but I think it was in working class households, communities rather, the ratio of books per household was 1 per 300?
300 families.
1 book per 300 families. And it made me cringe when I went to the library, and the librarian took me inside and said, "This is for you." And it was a black person on the cover, right? Because I thought, why are you singling me out? I feel more self-conscious and conspicuous now than I did before. And why didn't you ask me, do I like Jane Austen? Because I do, right? I loved it. I was reading Jane Austen and Dickens all through high school. So one solution might be for those children is to say, what types of books do you like? And if they say, I like books about basketball, find them any kind of book about basketball, regardless of race. The other thing to do is to have everybody read a book about a child of color. Because then they feel less conspicuous, because everybody is reading this book. Especially if everybody's loving it and enjoying it and affirming the characters in that book. Then you're not the one that's standing out on the outside.